Hi all, Tim here. As a storytelling channel, I thought I would start with a little bit of my background, some storytelling on where I came from and what my IT career has been all about, and a bit of my journey into proactive IT and specifically into DEX. So I started my career in 1988. I came out of tech school in New Haven, Connecticut, the Connecticut School of Electronics, an outstanding place to learn not only technology, but the process of troubleshooting and all kinds of great things. A lot of really great IT people came out of that school. In 88, I went to Digital Equipment in Connecticut, and for 7+ years, learned the art and science of troubleshooting as well as customer service, being on the road fixing computers. Started out with learning DOS. I think it started at 3.x, 3.3, and the early versions of Windows. Got into Novell NetWare, certified netware engineer, and really learned more about customer interactions and troubleshooting technology. Was an on-site rep at some big financial services organizations in Connecticut, from Aetna and GTE and United Technologies. Learned a lot about not only Windows but networking, and grew my career. And in 1995, decided to move to one of my customers and become an employee in their internal IT organization. In 95, if you get in that kind of wayback machine, it was as Windows was transitioning into Windows 95. Microsoft was making some advancements with their Active Directory competitor to Novell, and we migrated at the Hartford. We then migrated from NetWare to Active Directory. But I stood up the first desktop engineering team, educated our mostly mainframe service desk into a distributed computing service desk. And for 20 years at the Hartford, then looked at automation to help make managing that distributed computing environment easier, more cost effective, and more manageable. What happened over the course of those years, though, bringing in things like SMS and Altiris and Ghost, WinInstall to the SMS installer, all kinds of technologies. It was all based on the provisioning of IT. We needed to build PCs faster. We needed to distribute software electronically. We needed to give the help desk remote control, so we didn't need to get up and walk around to everybody's desks. But our employees were struggling with that technology. We had no way to know if they had issues unless they pick up the phone and call us. And then we got to 2008. So I'll fast forward a little bit. 2008 was the financial crisis. And at the time, being founded in 1810, if you can do your quick math, I'll do it for you. The Hartford at that time was 198 years old, and we hit the financial crisis. And our stock went from $107 to $3.33. It was over the course of a couple of months, but that level of a drop, you could legitimately say it dropped like a rock. And for employees that had been at the Hartford for 10, 20, 30 years, our worst nightmare was being at the helm of a company that's 198 years old that's about to go out of business. So as you can imagine, the company did everything that we could to survive. We stopped software maintenance contracts. We stopped projects that weren't specifically related to survival. We stopped all hardware purchases, desktop refresh, even new hires. At that time, we probably weren't doing much in the way of new hires. So desktop and laptop refresh got stopped. Any migrations at the desktop or even in the data center were put on hold. We found ourselves with a new CEO. We had sold off businesses that were tied to the stock market, which created volatility and became a pure property and casualty business. So fast forward a couple of years then, we're now into 2010, 2011, and we are a much different company. We've got a new financial services CEO. We have fewer businesses to support, and we have fewer employees to support. We went from 45,000 employees down to about 30,000. But as we recovered, and the stock market recovered and our stock price recovered and business came back around, we found that we were woefully behind in technology. We already had a fair amount of legacy technology to begin with, but now having paused for a couple of years, we were way behind, and the next operating system end of life was coming up. At the time, it was Windows XP migrating to Windows 7, but we were also on old versions of SMS and Exchange and Link and SharePoint and over 2,000 applications that needed to be either upgraded, remediated, or retired. So we bundled all of this together into a single program called Office Automation, and we did all of our necessary testing department by department. So the new hardware, which was now old, I got to replace a whole bunch of desktops and laptops. We basically did 30,000 PC refreshes. The new operating system, which also included the new browser and all of the new plugins, web applications, local desktop applications. Each department then got a certified build, and we rolled out department by department. As we rolled, and the project lasted about 18 months, I was the tech lead across all of the service towers. So not just end user compute, but server, storage, network, database. I wasn't the project manager, but we needed a technical lead to make sure that all of the technical bits and bytes were happening the way that they needed to be. So I was that tech lead for the program. And as we rolled out department by department, we had covered interoperability testing and usability testing and compatibility testing. But what we weren't able to do for time, money, and lack of capability was load testing. We rolled out each department, and what we found was our ticket count at the help desk started to increase. And now we were outsourced to a service provider. We paid $5 a ticket at level 1. So an increase in tickets was an immediate hit to our monthly expense. But what we chose to do was to keep on pushing. What we need to avoid is that end of life on Windows XP where we're going to have to pay Microsoft millions of dollars in support if we go beyond that end of life date. So we pushed through each of our departments. We triaged as we could and figured out what was happening. We got through 30,000 employees and devices in about 18 months. And at the end of the program, our baseline ticket count at the help desk, which was 30,000 tickets a month for, at the time, was 45,000 people. We were now sitting at about 52,000 tickets a month for 30,000 people. We almost doubled our instant tickets on a kind of on a per user basis. And we couldn't figure out why. I put together a SWAT team. I traveled the country. I visited 40 field offices, and in a matter of about 6 weeks, so it was at least one office a day, sometimes two, all across the U.S. And I saw things that employees were dealing with on a daily basis that boggled my mind and that they didn't call the help desk about. I stopped in one office in Cincinnati, Ohio. It was a claims staff legal office. Very small office, 4 attorneys, 1 paralegal, and an admin, basically a 6-person office. But as attorneys, they're highly paid. And they invited me in at 8 a.m., and they said, we've saved a few things for you to take a look at. Watch what happens when we try to open up our Total Office application. A Total Office was a place where they could bring all of their evidentiary data for a single specific case, whether it was email or video evidence or photos or documents, anything that was related to a single specific case. Went in, got a case number into this application, imported in, they double-clicked the icon, and in those days it was an hourglass. It wasn't the spinning dial. It hourglassed for 90 minutes. Not seconds, 90 minutes. But only for 2 of them. The other 2 were fine. And they said, you know what, by 9:30 it comes up and I'm good. I said, guys, give me the ticket number for this. I know who can fix it for you, or at least troubleshoot it for you, and let me get it escalated because this is important. And I was amazed. They said, we didn't call. And I said, why didn't you call? They said, it'll fix itself eventually. But it basically boiled down to three reasons. Number one, I'm not going to call the helpless desk. And without exception, all 40 field offices called it the helpless desk. I'm not going to call because I know through experience that they're not going to be able to fix it. It just, I've called so many times, things don't get fixed. It makes no sense for me to pick up the phone and call. Number two, if I do call, I also know through experience that they're going to remote control to my machine, and in their trial and error troubleshooting, they're going to break three things while they try to fix this one thing. They're going to uninstall and reinstall the latest patch. They're going to reinstall Office. They're going to delete my profile and let that rebuild. Now my Outlook signature is broken. I've got to rebuild that. I can't afford the downtime that trial and error troubleshooting creates for me down the road, because now I've got to fix all this stuff. But third, and maybe the most important, is it's one application. I can go be productive somewhere else. I can have a phone call. I can do email. I can meet with some peers. If I'm on the phone with the help desk, I am 100% unproductive and I'm down and I can't afford that time. So that story, along with lots of other stories, is what allowed me to go back to Hartford and justify doing things differently. And oh, by the way, my first reaction was, these two attorneys are down for 90 minutes. This is horrible. But the bigger issue is we have 80 of these field offices around the country. What's happening at all these other offices? And as I traveled, I found that the majority of them had the same problem and the same excuse for not calling the helpless desk. So coming back to Hartford, I found that our CEO and some senior executives were also making the rounds to get kind of a pulse of the business. How are we recovering? What are your major pain points? And come to find out, they got a bigger earful, especially in one office in San Francisco, about IT problems than they did about the business. And in a meeting with our CEO, he laid out the issues in San Francisco. We had done a little research and found that they didn't really have that much of a bigger volume of tickets than any other field office. And in our reaction, we said, Liam, we don't know they have issues unless they call us. They have to call us and tell us about these problems or we can't fix them. And as we said it out loud, we kind of realized it might not be the right thing to say. And he leaned in and he says, you mean our employees need to stop what they're doing, pick up the phone and call you to tell you about a problem that you don't know about, but that you probably caused? So I switched to my inside voice and said, well, it's been like that for 30 years. People have to call the help desk. That's why we have a help desk. But his charge to us was, find a better way. You do not have 30,000 people on the IT payroll. They are not IT monitors. Find a way to manage the environment without depending on the employees to tell you about something that you broke. So we came out of that meeting knowing that we had support from the top. That was our silver lining to go find a better way. And we brought NextSync in. We looked at all of the tools that we already had. We had the VDI management tool. We had the APM, the application performance monitoring tool. We had all of the networking tools because they get blamed for everything. But nothing we had could give us that place where we could get real-time analytics and actionable information on consumption, on performance, on sentiment. And we found so many things with NextSync in the POC, coupled with the stories, that allowed us to bring in that DEX solution. At the time, it wasn't known as DEX, but I labeled it Proactive IT. We created a Proactive IT team, and we went from there. Kind of the punchline to this story is we brought those 52,000 tickets a month back to 30,000 tickets, which was our marching order. Just get us back to that bad metric that we started with. And we continued to chip away at enterprise-wide issues that we could proactively solve. And when we hit 20,000 tickets a month, I realized how transformational this thing was, and I decided to come over and help spread the word. Back in 2015, I made the jump over to the dark side to help our teams talk with other enterprises. I wanted that, oh my God, this changes everything kind of a moment over and over again, but I didn't want to go to another insurance company or another financial services firm. I wanted to be able to show this to every enterprise on the planet. Now, there's a lot of other proactive IT things that go along with it, and there's been a ton of advancements in the platform since 2015. But again, the proactive IT nature of having this kind of a solution in place just makes so much of a difference. And since having left Hartford, they're now operating at about 8,000 tickets a month on the reactive side at the L1 Help Desk. If you do the math at $5 a piece, it comes out to about $2.5 million savings in that outsourced help desk invoice on a yearly basis. And that's just at level 1. It's not the efficiencies at level 2. It's not freeing up the engineering resources to actually do their engineering work at level 3, the project management stuff, the hardware and software asset management. Those are all stories I'll save for another time. But essentially, that kind of is, in a nutshell, 35 years of starting with DOS and Windows all the way now up to proactive IT. Lots of stories to tell about automation and workflow process automation as well. AI, how does AI fit into it, especially Gen AI? And I'm going to be bringing in other folks to tell their journey as well. And what other technologies? There's great technologies out there from MoveWorks and Icera and a whole host of others that we'll be researching and getting some storytelling out as well. Talk about some problem solving and things that you can use to take back and make your own. And again, another pitch at the end of this: if you've got either a career story or a technical hurdle or a process story you want to talk about or a career journey, whatever makes you passionate and you'd like to tell the world about, give me a holler. Hope this one gives you a little bit of foundation of who I am and what the career is all about. And there will certainly be more. But I appreciate you listening, and we'll talk again soon.